video. Yeah. On to Contavod. Yes. Anyway, so again, it's this resistance to acknowledge rationally, sensibly. Okay, that there's the best of our brain can produce, the best of our intelligence, our best effort at gleaning the truth. And then there's the cheats the delusions we play with ourselves, literally. Things we want to be true, we rationalize, we make excuses. One of our heroes gets caught with his pants down, so to speak, and yeah, people become a little bit irrational, and they become hypocritical and almost duplicitous in their effort to be defensive, to protect, to not accept. Alright, so there's lots of that kind of thing going on, but that kind of thing is nothing to be rewarded. It's nothing to be said, oh, that's okay, let's do some more of that. Let's do some more rationalizing. Let's do some more wishful thinking. We kind of know what that's got us into. Deficit spending, global warming, acceptance of war. Yeah, but it doesn't go anywhere good. It goes bad places. Places that will get us into trouble. And so the best thing to do, the best policy, is to go where logic points. And, this guy is basically saying, okay, I get it. There's logic to this accepting evolution for what it is. Horrible. There's logic to accepting the universe just doesn't work to take us someplace. And it's not looking good for our function. Our function looks like heroin addict. Compromise lots of value to get the heroin. Bash a few people over the head. Well, I had to do it. I'm addicted. I have to accept losses. I have to accept collateral damage because I'm on a mission to get my heroin. And that's pretty much all that's happening on planet Earth. There's a bunch of self-interested feeling organisms looking out for themselves and saying silly things like, what's in it for me? Which isn't very reasonable on a very crowded island planet. So anyway, that's my context. He said I've already made these speeches, and but see, this is where I'm just going to show the propaganda, the desperate effort. Whoa, he just disappeared. Firefox just crashed for didn't even give me a crash thing, like, hello, we crashed. Nothing. Just gone. Oh, there it is. It's just, it's behind stuff. There it is. Tell us, well, we crashed. Well, you suck. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to restart it, and then you're going to open all the windows that crashed, aren't you? And I'm going to have to quickly close. Oh, okay, didn't open them. Yay, you're getting a little brighter with age. So anyway, we'll just start off with a new window. Yeah, we'll just say close. Oh, but then I have to go find Wilbur, whatever the fuck his name is. Jim. Oh, look, it's broken. Jim's column is broken. Excellent. No, I mean, everything's just going perfectly not well. And I just had to fix it because, YouTube's fucking up again. I mean, they're changing everything static. They always do this. They change it, and then they change it some more, and then they finally leave it alone for a few months. So anyway, history. Yeah, that's real cool. Go to the history. That should get me there, right? No, of course not. Not anywhere near. Not on the list. Just show all history. Okay, now we got a better chance. Not there either. There we go. And a Contavod's channel. So that's something. I can open a new tab. Yes, I can. Great. I want to fix that thing. Well, I'm not going to do it now, but damn it. I just fixed it, and it's broken already. I mean, just really annoying. Rational and non-rational. It's probably his stupid video that broke it. So this is the other thing that's happening on this computer. I don't know what this crap is, but it's taking way longer than it should.
Have you ever watched the 1980s TV series, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? There's an interesting little anecdote or a little sketch in there, and essentially the series is just a pile of little sketches parodying just about every aspect of postmodern.
Yeah, okay, well, you might as well just say you either watched it or you didn't watch it. I don't know if there's much point in explaining what it is. Yes, it's like every other sitcom. It parodies life on Earth. Yes, makes fun of silly humans. Yes, yes, yes. Sitcom.
Modern life there is. There's a passage in the Bible, I don't know what it is, where God words are sort of placed into God's mouth without faith. I am nothing.
I think Jesus must have said something like that, right? Yeah. So here we go. Now, does that make sense, right? So this is his premise he's starting with, is that, okay, so the God thing, whether it's Jesus, whoever said it, said something that is a silly premise. As a premise, it would be silly. You can't possibly be something and nothing. So it's like saying, let's start with the premise that black is white and white is black. Now, could you really have a conversation about black and white? No, there'd be no point. So it's a ludicrous proposition on its face. It can't possibly be true that the something is nothing. It just can't. So it's a preposterous premise for any further discussion. You just say to God right there, you say, well, gee, you're not very logical or smart, because obviously something cannot be nothing. You can be a lot of things without faith. You can be ignored, you can become irrelevant, you can do a lot of things, but you can't be nothing. And so I guess we can assume that God, or Jesus, was intending to imply nothing in the substantive meaningful, I am no longer relevant or meaningful without faith, something like that. But he can't say I'm nothing in the I'm absolutely nothing sense. So again, so now he's going to, this is the straw man. So he's going to use the word straw man later. This is the straw man. It's a false premise.
And so then you see an atheist debating with God, I think. And the atheist says, wait a minute, I have now evidence that you exist. Therefore, faith is not required. Therefore, I have no faith, and I know you exist. Therefore, you're nothing. And then God, as they say in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, vanishes in a puff of logic.
Right, in a comedy sitcom. Which, obviously, this wouldn't happen in any kind of real situation, would it? That this little game to be played with words, this little semantical game, God would say, I meant nothing in the sense of, not relevant. And it's all besides the point. Obviously, the point is that people don't get to see me, and they don't get to have a conversation with me, so they don't get to know I exist. So, yes, they must have faith, because I don't make it possible for modern people to do it any other way. Yes, the antiquity, I flooded things, and I parted things, and I blew things up all over the place, and I threw toads around, I did all kinds of funny stuff, little tricks, to keep the people interested. But I decided to give up on that, and just ignore the fuck out of you and say, be an idiot and believe in nothing. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, so that's the part where you say, oh yeah, now I get it, God doesn't exist, because that's just all ludicrous, isn't it? Quite ludicrous.
That's the kind of, sort of, I don't know, sideways attack, I guess, on logic. A lot of people see that.
Yeah, sideways, left-handed, up your ass kind of approach. Yeah, that's right, it's a little game played, and it doesn't mean a damn thing, because it's a stupid little trick with words. And it has nothing to do with reality. And you're using it in a conversation about how we should interact with reality. Not how we should play characters on a sitcom, but no, how we should interact with reality. You're suggesting that people should leave their hearts and minds, open to this prospect that the irrational is okay. That's what you're selling. And you're selling it on this false premise that, look, see, logic doesn't work. They proved it on the sitcom. I mean, you can understand why I find this just horribly irresponsible and revolting. You can understand why I find this approach of yours revolting. You know, this let's use the evidence from sitcomery. Yeah, I think that's a fallacy, an official one somewhere, right? Evidence from sitcomery, that must be a fallacy, a known fallacy.
That is an attack on theism or Christianity.
Oh, theism. Theism. Theism.
Or whatever. But I kind of see it the other way. I kind of see it as sort of a slightly irreverent.
Oh, yeah. Irreverent, comical, nonsensical, silly.
Parody or.
Parody, yeah, exactly. Useless. Nothing to do with reality. Nothing to see here if you're trying to do serious philosophy.
Irreverent satire of logic, because it tends to recoil on you if you sort of take it as an absolute.
Yes, it tends to recoil on you to take it as an absolute, and that's demonstrated in the sitcom by creating the completely straw catastrophe. No real catastrophes are going to be demonstrated to happen when you follow logic. No real dilemma or duality or, contraction of the universe or pinching of the penis. There'll be no catastrophes in reality. But yes, in our little fake imagined straw man world, it's just a disaster when you rely on that logic and get you in horrible trouble. Look at the Three Pigs and Goldilocks and Little Red Riding Hood. All had terrible problems because of logic.
Now, I was in a discussion yesterday with Frostwork Bouquet, where...
Yeah, sounds like a fictional character.
He or she, I don't know if I'm talking to a male or a female because of that nick. Sorry, move the phone around there a bit. And I said, where does the ought come from in the is-ought thing, and, in terms of what our ethical prescriptions are?
Yeah, so you're still talking about that crap as if this is at all a complicated question to a feeling organism who can know the difference between, horrible unpleasantness and, exhilarating enthusiasm, or whatever.
The answer is, of course, reason. All right. What do we do if reason tends to go against our interests?
Right. Like every time we figure out we can't steal candy from the baby, like every time it goes against our interest. If we're cheating at a game, we're all bigger genetically, or we're all this or that or that. And somebody says, well, let's be reasonable. They're having the three-legged race in the center square, and they give all the little rich kids a head start. And reason is applied by somebody, and they say, wait a minute, that's bullshit. What is this head start crap? In the race for life. Lots of all these ethical things, all this stuff, it usually comes down to, who's the cheater? And let's out him. Tragedy how? Oh, that's right, no tragedy there.
As humans, well, looks to me as though the implication is, for people who I might sort of caricature as worshipping at the altar of reason, for such people, we must give way, even if it means we must cease to exist.
We have to make concessions to our incompetence or the inability to perfect things adequately to justify the cost. If we can't prevent wars in the future, we can't continue to exist because the potential cost of such a war will be so high in terms of the suffering caused that you can't sustain that, you can't justify that. So there's lots of things you can't justify doing because the level of the harm you're going to impose is so great that it would be an act of Hitler-esque insensitivity to perpetrate your folly. So yes, that's the reasonable conclusion when it comes to the biological infestation on Earth. Its fundamental nature is to create its problems and solve part of them, and then call itself a hero. So it burns, it sets the bridge on fire, and then shows up like Superman and catches half the victims before they burn in the boiling oil, and then calls itself a hero. It's that bad.
A lot of people say that's not really a prescription to suicide. I say it is.
I say it is. I say you can't live if you know that's living stupid. Well, of course you can, because you still have a penis. I mean, really, this is just, I say it is. I mean, what is that? So the only reason why I live is because I have the delusion that human beings will continue to exist for 1,000,000 years. That if I was to know for a fact that in 20 years there's a giant asteroid or a comet heading for Earth and it's going to annihilate the planet, that somehow I couldn't continue living anymore knowing that 20 years from now humans won't exist. No, I don't think so. So again, you just threw it out there like, oh, I think this is, that's insane. How could you possibly live without investing in the future? Because the future's going to show up. There, it just did. Wow, there it is again. The future ends up showing up before I can even object. And that's sort of the nature of the living organism. It's going to keep playing because the play just keeps coming at it. The stuff to swat away is always coming, so it's just going to keep playing because it just can't. It's like if a stream of tennis balls are coming at you and you're just busy swatting them, and somebody says, look, let's quit playing. Well, it's like you just can't quite leave because there's one right there to hit, and there's one right there to hit, and so you're still in the game, and so you just can't let go of the game. So anyway, so I just think that's another one of these glib. Let's just say it like it's a fact, like it's a proven fact. You can't live unless you're invested in a 1,000,000-year human future. Yes, you can.
But that's neither here nor there.
No, it's pretty much right in the middle of this whole conversation because it just points to the fact that you're the one running from the truth, that you are desperate to evade reality, and you want to sit there and straw man the opposition argument with this false premise that life is insufferable if you don't have little gooey baby in the bassinet going, oh, blah, 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 I'm going to puke on the future. Many times.
What interests me is the position of humans, us, vis-a-vis reason, logic, all this kind of thing.
Yeah, well, fundamentally, humans don't even have any of that, right? I mean, the average human has done, what, 1.2 seconds of serious philosophical thought in their whole fucking idiotic life. I mean, they're just, they're just going wherever McDonald's points them. Ugh.
We have a reasonable and a logical part of our faculties.
There we go. So the word faculties now is another word we can throw in the dumpster, right? Because that doesn't mean anything. Because now he's calling your penis a faculty. He's calling your ego desires a faculty. Now, if that's the faculty that was teaching you in school, you'd really be dumb. What's the point of, like I said, it's faculties of what? Intelligence or faculties of motivation? You don't call motivation a faculty, I don't think. So yes, our desires are in conflict with our better judgment. This has been a problem for thousands of years, maybe even millions of years. And it's about time we did something about it.
We have it's part of our makeup.
Well, that's just, see, so now he's made emotionalism, desire, ambition, ego, he's made all that some sort of makeup of our intellectual capacity. He's smashed it right in there and said it's a faculty, like knowledge or book learning. No, it's not.
But the irrational won't go away.
He says him, right? It will go away if you don't keep making it out of rationalizations, out of excuses, out of desperate wishes happily ever after. You have to let go of these fables and these wishy-washy, mishy-mushy dreams and start looking at the piece of shit for what it is, to quote Monty Python.
So, the prescription seems to be...
Okay, so now he's gonna... Now, I have the solution. The solution is...
find some painless way to have the rational overcome the irrational, or the irrational, or the non-rational type.
Right, some painless way, like somehow you're going to find out the truth that you have cancer, and that somehow you're supposed to find some rational way to make that go away. Well, you can't do it. There's no painless way, okay, to be rational. There's no painless way to find out the burdens of your pleasure, to find out that your happiness costs somebody else their happiness, or any of that kind of stuff. There's no painless way to do that, because it wouldn't be honest then, right? And we can assume that rationality, we can deduce that there can't be much of a separation between honest and reasonable.
In other words, there's a war going on, and
yes, between the simple logic of understanding our true place in the universe, which isn't the spawn of God, and recognizing that our true place in the universe is we're just a highly mechanized, highly tool-equipped fucking maggot.
What we have to do is make sure that the good guys win, the good guys being logic, reason, rationality, etc.
Yes, well, you're certainly not going to making any contribution whatsoever to that grand victory that'll have to take place sooner or later, right? Because you're fighting on the other side and giving the other side the tools and the weapons to run away and beat the truth to death.
The irrational, the irrational.
After they rape it, of course.
Rational, the non-rational is the bad guy. I'm not so sure that I agree with that, but...
yeah, exactly. Based on a sitcom. Based on what? I don't agree with the premise that that rational is better than irrational. Now, what piece of evidence could you possibly use to justify that? The only evidence you gave us in this video was a sitcom played a ludicrous game with words, right, to make a silly joke. And it was a silly joke. So that's your evidence that reason and logic is faulty and frail and will get us nothing but trouble. Is a fucking joke. Bravo. Oh, you're making such an excellent contribution to the advancement of human intelligence.
I'll leave it up to other people to decide whether or not that is a straw man.
What is a straw man? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. A straw man? I don't know. I don't even know how to make sense out of that. Straw man how? The straw man has to be a premise. If your premise is logic is flawed because a sitcom says so, well, yeah, that would be a straw man. Yeah, whatever. It's all just such a fucking joke. I hate these people. Anyway, I'm just trying to turn the video off, and it's doing this little spinny thing. Anyway, well, I am getting my old computer back. I just put a new power supply. I rewired a power supply to have the right connectors, went through all this crap, plugged it in, still didn't work, so it's obviously the motherboard on that computer. But anyway, I got a replacement for $50. I feel stupid in hindsight. I went to all that work, wasted hours researching the stupid power supply because it had this stupid plug that no other power supply has. It's not a 6-pin PCI Express plug. No, it's a 6-pin auxiliary plug, but it's not in a row. It's in a 3x3. And well, anyway, It's just so irritating. And it's not even necessary. I still had to make the 8-pin plug. But anyway, I just... ATX motherboards. Anyway. So, it's always something. I've just been aggravated by a bunch of stupid little aggravations. It's been that kind of a week. Yeah. Anyway. But, on the bright side, blah, blah, blah. I don't have blah, blah, blah for that one. Now, there's got to be some bright sides. I mean, I can't complain. I don't have to have things as bad as many. So. But I can't, complaining seems appropriate, even so. I think that's all. Yeah. So we'll move on till next time and such. I gotta fix that stupid thing now. That's what I gotta do. I really thought I had it fixed. I'm really surprised. See, it didn't load the old fan video over here, didn't pop in over here, so that's broken too. Still continuing to be broken. So I still have some work to do. Maybe it's, did I put him in the right directory? Maybe that's the problem. I don't think you ever uploaded them there. I don't think I uploaded the new versions. Oh, that's probably why they didn't work. So I rewrote them and fixed them, but I didn't put them on the server. Oh. Yeah, they don't work very well unless you put them on the server. So that's the problem. So when I refresh this, there should be 2 new files in here. There they are. Right there. So yeah, I never did this part. I never took these 2 files and put them in this correct directory here. Yes, this directory here. There. Okay. Now it's fixed. Probably, mostly. But now I have to fix the original copy because it's broken. I could just slide in the version from a couple of days ago and let it repopulate. Maybe I'll do that. So I'll probably make a mess, but I don't care. Yeah, I'm going to do it. This is the files here, so I'll slide those in here and I'll just pretend I didn't do that. I didn't do that. It's sort of cheating. See, now when I reload this, there she is. Hey, it still has the semi-new version. Says I had some selected tests on there somewhere, I guess. Hey, look, there's the guy's butt. There's a girl's crotch. And there's a girl's cleavage. Cool. Way to go, DuckDuckGo. Yeah, I'm going to take this DuckDuckGo thing off of my index servers. I found it's just a nothing company. They're just taking composite results from others and just throwing them together, slopping them together in a slop manner. So it's really of not sufficient integrity for me to be bothered. Anyway, I'm just dragging this out now, aren't I? Okay, now it's back and it's all working correctly. Okay, so now when I have to go fix it though and the other thing. Alright, wait, I won't explain that, but I have to fix the other thing too. Alright, I mean the thing where it's running. Alright, you want to go out? Okay, he wants to go out. Till later.